Okay, so I'm the first few hours into Neo The World Ends With You. First things first, I do want to say shout out to Square Enix. They were kind enough to provide me a code for the game so that way I'd be able to make content on the game. So much love to you guys. You guys really show this channel a lot of love, so thank you so much. But that's not going to hinder what I do want to say about the game. I won't be going into any spoilers. I'll be staying into the first week of the game. I'm still in the first week of the game, honestly, so that, you know, I don't really know anything that happens outside of that. So I'm still at the very beginning of the game. It says I'm 5% complete with this entire game. So that just goes to show you that I'm still in the very early hours of it. But I do want to say that even with that being said, there's so much I want to be able to say about this game. I won't be spoiling anything. This is going to be a completely spoiler-free video. Some of the footage you're going to be seeing will go up to day 5, but that's about it. So we're still within the regulations of Square Enix not deleting my channel. But what I want to say here is Neo The World Ends With You is exactly what we've all been hoping for a sequel for The World Ends With You. Now, some people felt that they didn't feel like The World Ends With You needed a sequel, especially with how the original game did end up ending, but I'd go as far to say that The World Ends With You was always calling for a sequel, mainly because of the secret reports that were in that game that really imply that this story is far from over. And that just goes to show you that, yeah, this was always going to end up happening. And while this time the main cast doesn't seem to be revolving around our original characters, though it appears to be Neku on the actual box art, and he will have somewhat of a play in this game. We're not too sure what really is going to happen. The game is out now, of course, so you can pick up the game for yourself if you'd like. However, within this first week, as far as I'm concerned, up to day 5, I haven't had any encounter with him, so I can't really comment on what, how significant his role actually is even in this game. But because we saw him in the trailer, we do know Neku is in this game. But regardless, what I really want to talk about over everything else is mainly the music and the gameplay. So let's start off with the gameplay, because if anything, that was the most controversial part of The World Ends With You, depending on how you played it, of course. The original DS version, a lot of people end up calling the superior version of the game, mainly because when they ended up creating The World Ends With You, they had a specific kind of battle system in mind for this game. When you end up getting into battle, the two partners end up in a different version of the world, fighting the noise at the same time, and you had to control the two separate characters at the same time. That was what they originally conceived this as. Then when they ended up making the mobile port, which ended up getting, a rework to become the Switch release of the game, they ended up kind of having to ditch that philosophy and just kind of triggering certain moves and abilities and certain swipes to have the player, their NPC partner actually chime in and attack as well, despite the main character attacking would always be Neku. And in a way, I gotta agree, it's nowhere near the original philosophy of the game. It certainly makes it easier to play, of course, that making it more accessible for more people, but it's not exactly what, obviously what the developers originally wanted for the game. But I still think it translates well enough to get that whole partner philosophy of taking on the noise together enough, because that was still the original philosophy, though I love how, that actually is. I still think it was a minor part of the game's story. So if they had to sacrifice that bit, even as cool as it was, I think it was for the best to make the game more accessible. And I just think overall, I think this game does so much better with it, primarily because at all times during the battle, we get taken into the battle screen, there is always going to be your whole team in that battle arena. And instead of just having, one character do everything and just have your NPCs chime in whatever they want, so they actually end up mapping each of the attacks into different button commands, for the player to actually go and use. So say if I spam triangle, that will make me attack with Rindo. If I spam square, that'll make me attack with Fret, so on and so forth. So I think this is ingenious primarily because it actually ends up taking what the original DS version of the game did and kind of really bringing it back, honestly, because there was something lost with the mobile version and the Switch release of the first game, because it didn't really all the time feel like we were fighting together. It kind of felt like Neku was fighting and they were just helping out. But in this one, it really feels like we're fighting together. And that wasn't something I felt, in those other versions of the game. And the last time I felt that was in the DS version. So though it's not the same thing, it doesn't have like the other world type of philosophy that the first game kind of did. It ended up not really mattering because we kind of got what we originally really wanted, and was to feel like that these people are actually fighting together as a team, and even though the team is a lot bigger than what it was in the first game, it really feels like these people are working together fighting these people, especially when each one has to have a cooldown, because when you use a pin and tag that one pin onto that one player, they can only use it so much before they have to take a breather, and you can actually see them taking a breather, and I just find that nice little attention to detail cool, because after using that psychokinesis, that would mentally wear somebody out, and you can see them visibly tired, and while they're reloading, you have to go and use somebody else. But of course, when doing that can really put you at a disadvantage. For me personally, if I'm gonna be honest, I think Fret is like the best character, because a lot of the pins he gets are super long range and they do a ton of damage. It's like he always gets the right pins to have the weaknesses of a lot of these noise. So in the end, honestly, I end up charging in with Rindo and then going in and going with the beat, and going in with Fret next, because he does so much damage. And before he actually even needs to take a breather, he can end up killing at least 2 noise at once, and Rindo more often than not isn't gonna kill a noise with his basic attack unless it's actually, say, the weakness. Say they have that one frog noise and one of this fire sword pin that Rindo ends up getting. That one is really good because there are a lot of enemies that are weak to fire around that time, so Rindo could actually end up getting a kill right off the bat at the beginning of the fight when that does happen. But more often than not, if Rindo isn't having the weakness of the first enemy of the fight, he's more than likely not going to kill it. Fret will go in afterwards, finish it off, and then go into the next one and maybe even finish that one off too. And it just overall is really nice. And obviously he might not finish off a third, or even maybe not finish off a second one, depending on what the enemy is. Like if Fret doesn't have the weakness either, then Minamimoto can come in and really end up doing and finishing them off. And I really do like that. I will say Minamimoto is probably one of the ones I don't care for the least. His pins are really hit and miss, because you can only get certain pins with certain characters. Like I can't go and take the pin off Rindo and make Minamimoto have that pin, but I do think that the pins that he ends up getting are kind of hit and miss. A lot of the ones that kind of have you charging up, which is basically everything he gets, it depends on how it's done. Like if he's charging up a long kick, then that one's fine because it doesn't take so long and he homes in on the enemy. He can still miss, say if the target is moving fast, like say it's a bird type enemy, then that can end up happening. But more often than not, it's gonna be something to where he has to end up throwing a poison bomb or something like that, and a lot of times those miss really often, and it kind of sucks. So I think you have to really plan around Minamimoto. So you might need to exploit a weakness with Rindo or Fret, and then when the enemy is stunned because they're getting hit with their weakness, then you want to go in with Minamimoto. That way it lowers the opportunity for them to get away from his attack. And I think that's the best way to work around it. I really think, I overall think the worst character so far, not in terms of, actual character, but just in terms of gameplay, at least for me right now on day 5, is Nagi. Primarily because she doesn't get a lot of pins that really let her do some work. She did really come in clutch when I started using, the healing ones. Honestly, in the first game, I didn't really use healing pins too much because I honestly just didn't find myself in need of it too much. And even then, even when I did wish I had it, I never ended up losing because I didn't have it. Then I actually did get, have that happen to me because I leveled myself down a lot. Because basically in this game, just like the first one, you actually can level yourself down. My current level at the time of recording is 15, but I actually play on like level 9 a lot right now. That's me personally. But outside of those kind of healing moves and stuff that Nagi has, I think another cool thing that she can do is she has these kind of like tripwire moves. At least that's one of the other ones that she's had for me personally right now. I think it works cool too, because just like how I said, you have to plan around Minamoto, because a lot of his moves are really easy to miss. I feel like if I use the tripwire as Nagi, that's the perfect way to stop an enemy in its tracks and then get Minamoto to use this move. That's a really good synergy tactic for me. So that's what I mainly use if I have that on Nagi and I don't have something like healing. But other than that, she also does get a couple of charge moves that are honestly really similar to Minamoto's as well. And just like I said before, it really sucks because they're really easy to miss. If an enemy isn't stunned, there's practically no point in actually using it. And it sucks because, when you want to keep up, the beat going, the whole mechanic the game has when you start attacking an enemy a certain amount of times, you should switch into a different character that way to keep the beat going. I really think it is a cool mechanic, but I do think that, for Nagi specifically, I don't think having those charge moves are really the best suit for her, at least not right now, because again, then I just have two people using charge moves and both of them are basically missing most of their shots. And again, I could just use Rindo and Fret to set up both of them, but personally, I don't know, in the moment I don't be thinking like that, and I've just gotten to the habit of thinking about that for Minamoto. But having to set up two characters instead of one just kind of feels like I rather have that other person doing something else. And if she can heal me or trap somebody else down so that way we can get with Minamoto again, then I can have three people setting up the one person while the other two are big DPS with it. So I feel like that's a really good strategy for me personally. And about the music, man, I gotta say, everyone knows the original The World Ends With You's music was really good. And the fact that they have the same person coming back for this soundtrack, you can tell. It's so good to listen to, man. And it's just like, there are a lot of remix soundtracks, from the first game as well. And honestly, they arguably sound better in this game than they did in the original. I've heard the other ones so much to where it's just like, I still love my original ones, but it's kind of got a same philosophy for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition for me. I kind of am one of those people, I don't really like remixes very often. More often than not, I like to stick with the original, but that game kind of had me really feeling like, dude, I like these new ones more. And honestly, I think I might feel the way with this one too. I got to hear the rest of the soundtrack, of course. I'm still obviously, only on day 5, so there's still a lot for me to go. But man, dude, a lot of this music is so good. Like, oh my goodness, man. Like, I don't know a lot of the songs, by heart, in terms of, like the names of the songs and stuff like that, but they are a jam to listen to, man. They make battles feel so kinetic. It makes me feel like I want to, go in and fight these and beat these noise as fast as I can. They just really give off that good feeling. They make the world fun to explore. They make the cutscenes feel dynamic. They really aid everything that the game is trying to go for. They go and set the tone and mood of what these characters and personalities are like. Everything from NPCs and the dialogue cutscenes with the main characters, fights, everything like that. They really set the tone for what this game is going for, regardless of the situation, and I have to truly applaud. You did a fantastic job, and I am so happy and so psyched to listen to the rest of the soundtrack. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about for it this far. I don't want to talk too much about story. I am really enjoying it. I really love the characters. I like the dynamic they've all got going on. Rindo and Fred, being the boys, Nagi kind of being that person they're not too sure about, but they're really coming around to her. Minamoto being somebody who knows a lot more, about this than they do, but they're kind of not questioning it because it kind of doesn't matter, because they don't want to be in last place. And I'm really interested in seeing how the whole dynamic with Minamoto ends up going, especially with the new Switch ending for the first game. I'm not too sure how things are going to go, but I really want to know more. So that's going to be it for me. I've already been talking at least, before editing, 15 minutes. So I'm going to go back and play more, and I can't wait to go and play more and, end up beating this game, because I do want to actually make some kind kind of video essay on this whole game once I'm done with it. So I did want to just get out my first impressions and how I'm feeling about this game now that I'm about maybe 6, 7, 8 hours into it now. But that's going to be it for me. Did you guys end up picking up the Neo the World Ends with You? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't played the first one, they actually did make an anime for it. So if you can't really play the first one or don't know the best way of doing so, don't have a Switch or phone or DS or whatever, they made an anime for it. So you can definitely check that out on Funimation. It was a really good watch. They actually did really well with it. And I do think that if you can't play the game, it is the best way to get that story. So that way you can be prepared for this one, because this is actually a sequel. Even throughout the demo of the game, if you want to try out the game for yourself, there is a demo for it. But I will say this game is a sequel. This is not just one. It's not like a Final Fantasy situation to where you can just play whatever one you want. Even though there is a new cast of characters, you can clearly tell they're using stuff that happened from the first game, to really make this plot go forward. So I will highly recommend you play the first game first, or at least watch the anime. But thank you guys so much for watching. My name is KingdomAce. Thank you so much to Square Enix for sponsoring this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is KingdomAce, and remember, my warriors of courage, to stay strong, stay beautiful, and always look skyward.